Visit EnglishForEconomists.com and learn about our English classes for anybody who needs to speak about the economy. Hello and welcome to podcast number 15. I am Alan Robert and I am your host at English for Economists, the English podcast lessons for non-native English speakers who need to talk about the economy. You don't have to be an economist to enjoy these lessons. They're not lessons about the economy. No, my only goal is to teach you practical day-to-day vocabulary that will help you read, write, and speak English better. Perhaps you're a student. Perhaps you're a journalist. Perhaps you're even a politician. Or maybe you work in finance. These lessons are for you. Our topic today is labor unions. As always, let's look first at some key vocabulary. Labor union. A labor union is an organization of employees for dealing collectively with employers to improve, for example, safety standards, working conditions, and better wages and benefits. Expressions closely related to labor union are trade union and trade syndicate. Collective bargaining. There are two words here, collective, which means as a group, and bargaining, which is another way to say negotiating. So collective bargaining is negotiating as a unified group. To strike. To strike is to refuse to work, and that's organized by the union as a form of protest and to apply pressure on the employer during a negotiation. So when people strike, that is called a strike. They went on strike. To picket. Well, a picket is a group of people protesting outside a place of work or some other location, and they try to persuade others not to enter during a strike. So picketers picket, and they have a picket line outside of the company or the factory or wherever they want to prevent people from entering. To picket. All right, let's hear these words now in context. So, originating in Great Britain, trade unions became popular in many countries during the Industrial Revolution. That's a couple hundred years ago. Why do unions exist? Well, the most common purpose of unions is, to put it simply, to maintain or improve the conditions of the workers' employment. This may include the negotiation of wages, safety standards, complaint procedures, rules about job promotions, and employment benefits such as vacation, health care, and retirement. The trade union, through an elected leadership, bargains or negotiates bargains with the employer on behalf of union members and negotiates labor contracts with employers. Since the unions are negotiating on behalf of a group of employees, this is known as collective negotiation or collective bargaining. Now, the general public hears about labor unions when there is a labor dispute, right? You hear about unions when problems arise. Otherwise, they operate quite quietly. Well, they hear about labor unions when there's a labor dispute because when negotiations don't go well, the unions can sometimes take collective action to pressure their employers to meet their demands. This pressure can take many forms. One of the most well-known pressure tactics is for the unions to call a strike, where workers refuse to work. Sometimes striking workers will even picket the company's offices or factories. Have you ever seen this? Probably you have on the news. I'm talking about when striking workers gather together, some of them holding signs, sometimes chanting what they want. We want better conditions, we want more money, or whatever. So they chant what they want. Now, it's rare for labor disputes to deteriorate to a strike with workers picketing the offices. Usually both sides of the dispute want to avoid this type of conflict. Now, the overall impact of unions seems to vary from country to country. When I say it seems to vary, I mean that it's different from country to country. On one hand, research from Norway and other Nordic countries like Sweden, Denmark, which, by the way, have the highest levels of trade union density, well, the research has found that high unionization rates lead to substantial increases in firm productivity, as well as increases in workers' wages. On the other hand, research in the United States finds that unions can harm profitability and reduce employment and business growth. Well, my personal opinion is that while unions can provide higher wages and reduce inequality, they can also restrict employment flexibility and certainly hurt company profits. That's a personal view based on personal experience. What about the labor unions in your country? Are there many? Are they powerful? Let me know what you think about labor unions in the comments section on our webpage or on the Facebook page, wherever you're listening to this podcast. Okay, friends, let's take one last look at our vocabulary from this lesson. Labor union. An organization of employees for dealing collectively with employers to improve working conditions. Some related expressions are trade union and trade syndicate. Collective bargaining. Collective bargaining is negotiating as a unified group. To strike. A refusal to work organized by the union as a form of protest, and to apply pressure on the employer during a negotiation. To picket. To picket is when people protest outside a place of work, often carrying signs and chanting slogans. Well, that's all for today. The English for Economists podcast is new, so please share it with your friends and colleagues. If you have any suggestions or comments, write to me at alan@englishforeconomists.com. I would love to hear from you. If you're interested in our courses, visit our webpage, englishforeconomists.com. So, until next time, this is Alan Robert, and I'm wishing you a fantastic day. Take care.